Welcome to the Moody's Tire and Auto Football Extra.
Visit us at Moody's Tire for all your tire and automotive needs.
Stop by and see us at 1600 Columbia Avenue.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome in to this edition of the Moody's Tire and Auto Football Extra. I'm Joe Williams, along with longtime local prep sports expert Maurice Patton and, of course, Charles Pulliam, punching the buttons back there behind the camera. And guys, we've got another big week of football, and in my mind, Maurice, the game of the week is the championship game in District 11 AAA when Franklin comes calling right here at Ravenwood. Will Hester's not real sure. He doesn't want to go that far yet. Donnie Webb says we still got a lot of folks to play. This is the championship game.
It's obvious when you look at the standings. I mean, they're the last two undefeated teams in 11 AAA. Obviously, Ravenwood still got Brentwood, I think, to play. Franklin still got Independence and Centennial. But if either of them loses this week, then a district championship is pretty well out of reach for them. So even if they don't want to say it, I don't think there's anything wrong with us saying it.
Well, I think they're just trying to not put too much pressure on a couple of teams that are awfully good. Both defenses extremely strong, and of course Ravenwood, maybe the best defense in the county. They've given up 7 points the whole district season. Franklin with a great offense. Ravenwood with a great offense. I mean, it's just the perfect storm for a great game.
You know, that's what you hope for.
Yeah.
Of course, that's what we expected a couple of weeks ago, too, and Ravenwood kind of put the kibosh on that against Centennial. So it shapes up as a really good ball game. Like you said, you got a couple of teams that can score a lot of points and a couple of teams that really stop people from scoring well. And Franklin quietly has gone about their business. They lost a 31-28 game over at McGavock in week 3, but other than that, they've taken care of their business. I think there might be a little bit of a question, relatively speaking, about the schedule that they've played, but all they can do is play the people that they play, and they're 6-1.
Ravenwood, of course, Austin Percy and Van Jefferson, don't need to say more. Franklin, though, has probably 4 or 5 guys that they're able to throw to.
And none of them puts up big numbers. None of them is a high-profile guy like a Van Jefferson, but they get the production and they spread it around, and probably that's going to make it harder on Ravenwood's defense because they don't have anybody to key on, as opposed to Franklin knowing you got to keep the ball out of Van Jefferson's hands. Easier said than done. And you got to keep the ball out of Austin Percy's hands. One person, though, in Franklin's passing game that will have to be accounted for is the tight end, Garrison Matthews, kid who is committed to Lipscomb for basketball, but I think he's kind of become Joe Critchlow's security blanket over the course of the season. And you talk about the quarterbacks. I'm really impressed with the job that Cole Brown has come in and as a first-year starter and done. And, you know, son of a Titans assistant. Again, everybody talks about Van and Sean Jefferson, but Cole and Steve, and just everything that goes with growing up in that situation, I think has really come to fruition for Cole this year.
Brentwood traveling down to Summit, a battle of teams kind of, well, at the bottom of the district right now.
You know, Summit got some confidence, I think, early on in that game last week with Franklin. It's 14-10 at one point in the third period. Franklin scores the last 3 touchdowns, makes it 35-10, but I think they probably feel like the early portion of that ball game is something that they can build off of, and Brentwood has just kind of sputtered and struggled throughout the season. So they still got a little something to play for, staying off the bottom of this district, but that's about it for both of them.
And they can be a big spoiler in a couple of weeks against Ravenwood, too. The other game has Independence trying to come off of a 3-game losing streak. Hard to believe that when they're on a 3-game losing streak. They'll be hosting Dixon County, another team that's trying to stay off the bottom.
Yeah, and I guess you got to put a little bit of an asterisk next to that 3-game losing streak for Independence when you consider the fact that they were up 42-14 on Blackman in the fourth quarter before they lost 43-42 in a game that defies belief and explanation, I think. I was talking to some guys in the barbershop not too long ago, and we were trying to kind of dissect that one. I'm sure Scott Blade has been doing the same thing, but you look for them to kind of bounce back against Dixon County. Again, this hasn't been the same Dixon County club that folks have gotten used to over the years, and I think they'll take care of their business this week.
Over in District 11 AA, Fairview got their hands full potentially with Hickman County. Hickman County, a team comes in 6-1, and Maurice, Hickman County is not a school that has been known in the past 6 or 8 years as a strong football school, but they got something going.
They do have something going, and they should be a little familiar with the guy that's got it going, Tommy Ruiz, who was at Fairview at one point as their coach. So He seems to do a pretty good job quietly wherever he is, and it hasn't taken him long to get Hickman County in the mix over there in 11 AA. You've been used to it being Fairview, Lewis County, Camden. Hickman County's got a shot at winning that whole shooting match over there, and this will be a big step in that direction for them if they can win this game against what's been a perennial playoff team in Fairview.
Yeah, I was just say Fairview's still fighting for their shot at the playoffs. They need to win this game to put themselves in a position. They've helped themselves a little bit. They need some help to get back in.
Exactly. I think they had some injuries early on, and I think they've kind of survived it. Need a win right here.
12 AA, we go down to Rudderville, where Page will be hosting Cascade. And, you know, the Patriots just kind of, like you're talking about, they kind of just get the job done. They're right now third, I guess, in the district, looking to put one on Cascade. If they do that, they, again, are right back in the mix to go to the playoffs.
Yeah, and they've kind of got to like where they are right now again. Big win. I don't think you can overstate the significance of their win against Giles County a couple of weeks ago, and I think that's really given them some confidence. We've talked about Michael Magochi. I just think he's continued to grow for them at the quarterback spot, and he's going to give them a chance every night out, I think. And this is one that they should pick up, continue their momentum here coming down the stretch in that 12 AA district race.
Final two games to talk about this week, both of them in Division II. BGA, after a wild 2-hour delayed hurdling call loss to Knoxville Webb, which is probably the best team in the East State in Division II-A anyway. Now they got to come home and face Zion Christian, which is a district game for them. And I think those kids are going to be looking to vent some frustration. There we go.
That's a good word for it, exactly. Played really well, never led, but never let Webb out of their reach. I think it was a one-touchdown game all night. Made some big plays, got a big kickoff return out of Ronald Cleveland, got a big pick six from Miles Taylor. Made some big plays against a really good ball club, like you said, in Webb. And I think that's confidence. Again, we talked about that throughout the show, but I think that's something that they can build on. And having lost that game the way they did, I think Zion may be wrong place, wrong time right here.
Once again, Brentwood Academy, but as I've said 100 times this year, they're beginning to look like the Brentwood Academy of old. They go down to Chattanooga last week, face undefeated McCauley, and stick the first one on them, and did it with a little bit of style and pizzazz.
You know, I went back through the box score, and eventually it was a running clock game. 59-24 was the final. They got to 35 points, which is the margin that enacts the mercy rule on a 2-point conversion.
Well, as we said, you know, Ralph Potter left McCauley to go to Brentwood Academy and left Brentwood Academy to go back. Not that Eagles fans and coaches and folks may have a long memory.
No, they wouldn't remember any of that,
No.
I'm sure.
No, they are sitting atop the Division II AA standings, but it's a log jam up there. A lot of games still to come. The one this week, they got to go back to Chattanooga, Maurice, and face Baylor, who lost to Oakland last week. And this is one of those that you just got to hope they don't trip up just being tired.
You know, and it's that Division II AA has been so interesting this year, with McCauley getting off to that start and then losing to Brentwood. McCauley beating Ensworth a few weeks ago. Ensworth beating MBA beating Brentwood Academy. So, I mean, it's you don't know what you're going to get from one week to the next. Baylor would like to kind of inject themselves into that mix, but I think they've lost a couple here over the last couple of weeks. Like you said, lost to Oakland, lost to McCauley the week before that. I think they've maybe lost 3 in a row here. So they're really wanting to get up off the mat at home against the Brentwood Academy team.
And that's what we're looking for in Week 8. Now, we're getting really close to having things narrowed down as we get ready to head to the playoffs, and maybe some changes coming for some local teams. We'll talk about that as details become available. Right now, though, we're wet enough. We want to thank you for joining us here on the Moody's Football Extra. For Charles Pulliam and my partner Maurice Patton, I'm Joe Williams, wishing you a very wet but enjoyable stay at the ball game.